Welcome to the Business Family Marriage Podcast with Tim Smoyer. This is his personal podcast where he shares what he's learning about growing a 7-figure business while also raising 7 children and deepening his relationship with his wife at the same time. He shares what he's learning, what's worked, what hasn't, what he's trying next to grow a fruitful business, family, and marriage. For more on that today, here's Tim.
Good afternoon, business owners. I hope you guys are doing well. I'm sitting out here by the pool watching my older 5 kids swim. Looks like my oldest is coming out, so I have 6 here in the pool and a little bit out of the 7. My wife's out grocery shopping. We haven't had a nanny here all day. It's Tuesday. It's like our big team meeting day. I meet with clients today, and so it's helpful to have a nanny here since my wife is working more in the business as well. And she took off. My wife's still picking up some groceries, and so I'm sitting by the pool watching them swim. And my oldest daughter Hannah's coming over with one of our kittens. Hannah, you want to say hi to the podcast people?
Hi.
I'm going to talk with them today, Hannah, about doing family vacations and time as a family, doing like fun trips and stuff, and the benefit of that for us relationally, as well as why my team and I do team retreats and how that impacts our business and stuff. Yeah, we did it here at our house 2 years ago. We didn't do it last year because of COVID. But do you want to join me in the conversation or not really? Not really. Okay, that's fine. So I'm just watching the other kids swim, and then my wife gets back, we'll head in for dinner. So I thought I'd just opportunity to hang out, talk with you guys a little bit about that. And I don't know how much of them you can hear, but it's going to feel like just a conversation like us hanging out at the pool. How about that? So most of our kids are good swimmers, but some of the younger ones, we just feel more comfortable. Actually with all of them. They're not allowed to swim without an adult watching them at the pool. I was a lifeguard instructor for 12 years, so it's probably bad for my kids that I saw most of the worst case scenarios and know about like what happens if kids have access to just 6 inches of water without supervision. So hang out here and talk with them while we talk about this. Before we dive into the family vacation, team retreat stuff and the impact that has on relationships, either with your team that you work with or inside your family, I have a response from Renee from our last episode when I was talking about doing one-on-ones with our kids, just like we do with our family. With our family the way we do it with our employees, and just kind of a quick one-on-one once a month for about half hour to catch up. Hey, how you doing? How's the work going for you? How's the job? What's going on at home? What do you need from me? Like, how can we support you? Those types of conversations with our employees, but also having those with our kids and our spouses even. And so Renee, I thought had some good feedback, which was part of my hesitation and part of what I was trying to figure out about it. And I think she articulated it well. Here she is.
I love where you're heading with having dedicated time with individual parts of your family to make sure everybody's doing okay. However, I have found that my family does not appreciate whenever they feel like I am running our family like a business, even though they understand that there's been a lot less conflict since I started incorporating these kind of practices into our world. And having them back to back on a tight 30-minute window makes you feel like you're sitting outside of a doctor's office, at least in my head, and how the kids perceive things. So I definitely am curious if you try it, how it goes. And in our house, we have to do it a little bit more willy-nilly, or it has to be a little more free-flowing to get them to open up. So I don't necessarily do them on the same day or back-to-back. Anyway, keep it going, man. I like it.
I think that's really good input, Renee. And that's, kind of what I was thinking and kind of worried about with doing the one-on-one thing. And even all this business stuff in general, kind of like you pointed out, treating them like a business. I think the reason why like you feel that way and I feel that way often is because my experience with business prior to this, I had 2 different experiences. One experience was when I worked in a more corporate setting in like on the 9th floor of a corporate office when I was in graduate school, and I was doing IT network administration for them. And there, everything was pretty formal. You had to dress up, and relationships were kind of kept at an arm's length. And like it was like the people you had to work with, but never really wanted to hang out with, type of thing. And that strictness and just kind of impersonalization feel, like I get that, and that is not what I want for my family. But I worked in another environment that was pretty different, where it was actually more of a family type of feel, where the owners of the business, that was here in Cincinnati, that moved me here, the owners of that business would provide lunch. I think it was 3 times every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. They provide lunch for all employees and their families. And so several times a week, my wife and kids were coming in to work, and it was a catered. Well, it wasn't catered. They paid a cook, a chef actually, to make it. And so all of us had, like, as employees, had time to hang out together and talk, and our spouses and kids got to know each other, and conflict was handled in a much different way, performance and hours. There was no set vacation times. It was just like, hey, do what you need to do. Whoop, hold on a second. What do you need? Okay, and we're back. So yeah, that second experience was like I am still good friends today with a lot of those people. The guy who actually didn't fire me but let me go from that job because the business was going a different direction, I still talk with him regularly. Like he and his family actually lived in our basement for 2 months while they were renovating their kitchen and needed a place to stay. The guy who used to own the company, now he sold it since then, but I still go over to his house a couple times a month, and he comes over here, uses my recording studio, in my office. And so like those relationships are way different like than the corporate feel, which is like you kind of enjoy it. You're glad to leave them at the end of the day. Whereas the other approach to doing business, more like people first and relationship driven, I think had a very different vibe. So I get the perspective of when it's like, hey, we don't want our family to feel like a business. I feel like that's coming from the first experience. And that second experience for me gave me a very different perspective. So, but all that said, like we are trying to be very careful of that. And I talked with my wife about it, which is kind of how I left the last episode. And what we kind of agreed to was like, let's try it once and see how it goes. I think that if it's set up as like a special time and not like a check-in report time, like for example, like our family we have a day of rest every week, every Saturday, and so like that's usually the time they get special drinks. But what if we had like a special treat in there for the kids, like something they don't normally get, and it's set up to be like, hey, this is a dedicated one-on-one time with mom and dad that we get to have with you guys. And if it's the younger kids, we got coloring set up in there. If it's older kids, we were like building some Legos with them or something. And I think we can make this a thing that the kids look forward to and not like a doctor's office feeling. Because if we make it more intentionally personable and relational, because I've been to some doctor's offices that don't feel that way, although I can only think of one, to be honest. But yeah, so that we're going to try it and see how it goes. And for the rest of you guys who are listening, I'll definitely let you know how it goes. And if we're going to decide whether or not we turn that into a regular rhythm, or if we're like, it was cool for the younger kids, not for the older, or vice versa, or kind of whatever. So we'll see. We're going to try it out. But I do think, Renee, your point is very valid, where it's like, hey, for our family, this wouldn't work. And that's kind of true about everything, I think, when it comes even to like we talk about YouTube channels. Sometimes it's like, hey, this is the advice you commonly hear, but for you, I don't think it works because of XYZ. You have these unique factors involved, and every family's different. So I think, and I think I just related family to YouTube channels. That was a little, not quite, it was a little lower than I normally go. Yeah, but you guys get the idea. I get the point there. So, we'll let you guys know how that goes. In the meantime, we've been thinking both as a family and as a business, we've got like these retreat things coming up for the team and the business. Especially as our team grows, it's becoming more and more important that we are investing into relationships not just as like your job is to get work done, but like you have a life, you're a person, and we're all relational people. Like, let's get to know each other. And I know in like some corporate context, that's really weird. And I'm glad I'm not in a corporate context. I get to own my business, and we can make it people first, and not just about, some of the things that you experience in other contexts. So, for the team, since we do all work virtually, we don't get to see each other very often. Most of us are in the U.S. I have 2 contractors that are outside the U.S. My video editor is in Austria, and I have an admin lady who is in Philippines. But everyone else is in the U.S. And employees. So we get together, try to be once a year. We skipped last year because of COVID. But usually what it looks like is they all come out to our house. We like to host people here, and I think it just feels more personable. Like, hey, you get to see the space where I live and spend time with my kids and my family. Some people find that weird, but honestly, like, that's kind of some of the stuff we talk about even in the interviewing process is like, do you think it's weird that you get to know people you work with, or is that like awkward and like you prefer to keep your distance? So I'm not saying one's better than the other. I'm just describing how we roll. So we usually have it here at our house, and we spend the morning and afternoon typically doing a couple different things. Either we'll have like a guest, not a guest. Well, yeah, like a guest. Business consultant come in and like, here's an area of our business where we just really need to figure out, and this consultant's going to come in and guide our team on how to do this better. For example, I really want to introduce you guys at some point to a guy named Rich Style, who in one of our earlier team retreats really helped us solidify how do we work together as the team grows and each person has more and more siloed responsibilities, and how do we still stay connected and know what each other's working on without and being able to support each other in that, but rather than everyone kind of like competing for resources and not really knowing what's going on in the rest of the business. And as well as providing a system for me and each other that everyone knows kind of like, how's this person performing and doing? Like, how do I measure if this person's needs some help or needs some input or is struggling or falling behind or not really pulling their weight, and how do we have like an objective system for that? And so he introduced us to a system called Objectives and Key Results, OKRs. It's used by Intel, Google, I'm drawing a blank. Intel, I think, is the one first, like they started it back in the day. But anyway, just like all these Fortune 50 companies use it. But you can scale it down to use both in terms of your business of how do we take new ground, as well as in your family. Like, how does our family improve and grow? Like, where do we struggle and how do we set what objectives and key results we can set for this quarter? So that's a conversation for another episode. And I'm probably going to bring Rich on to talk about that because he uses them in his family as well as in his business. And he trains other businesses like ours. So sometimes we bring in that like a business consultant help us. Sometimes in our team retreat, the morning and afternoon are spent, like this year we're going to do something different where I'm going to try this idea of like, what do you want to work on? It doesn't have to be related to your job, to your skills or anything. Like, this is just something you see like it's kind of a gap in the business, and you just want to spend the next 2 days just solving that problem. And you can make a pitch for it to the team. And if someone's like, oh, I'm more excited about that idea than mine, or I don't really have an idea, I'll join you on yours. Like, we're going to team up together and try to fill some major holes in the business and that they choose to identify and solve all in 2 days. So I think that'll be good. But the main goal is like, let's just get to know each other and hang out and have fun together. And that's usually what the evenings are. In the afternoons, like everyone's kind of got some chill time in their hotel rooms. And then the evenings usually go out and do something fun together. Whether we're going like a dinner cruise down the Ohio River or go do like we did what's it called? An escape room last year as well, or 2 years ago. So just different fun things together. And it's like it's our one time of the year for all of us introverted people who work behind our computers in our living rooms at home to get together and form some good relationships. And it really does that experience for a couple of days. I think we're going to extend it. I think we're going to do like almost a week this year, but it really floats us for the rest of the of the year. Like relationally, we have much more understanding for each other, like where each other's coming from and stuff we're struggling with and trying to work through, and it really does a good job. So for our family on the same side, like I know family vacations aren't like a unusual or a new thing, but with COVID and everything, like it's just been really easy for my family just to stay at home. We haven't really gone anywhere. We did on a camping trip, but I haven't done any travel. I have my first speaking gig next month in August. It'll be my first speaking gig, my first time to travel in about a year and a half. And I haven't seen the inside of an airport for about that long. This is amazing because like prior to COVID, I spoke at 11 different conferences in 11 different states in 11 different consecutive weeks. So I was basically gone either during the week or every weekend, back home for a day or two, and then flying out again. That's when I knew I needed an executive assistant to come take control of my calendar, because all I did was look at the calendar and be like, yeah, that week's open, and sure, I'll do that. And then I never looked at the week before or the week after, and that was a pretty intense season. But COVID kind of put a big stop to all that. So I think I've fully recovered from that now, and looking forward to doing more travel. But when our family, what happens is, and we've just been staying home. Like, it's good. Like, we enjoy our house. We like our time here together, where it's swimming at the pool or working on projects with the chickens, or we just raised and processed our own meat chickens, and the garden and the fruit trees, and kind of like our own little homestead going on here. Like, we have enough here to keep us busy, and we enjoy doing that stuff together. But Dana, my wife, was pointing out that it's like, hey, those experiences are good, and I'm glad like we kind of have like a really good COVID house, so to speak, where we can enjoy each other and not just get bored inside, but do a lot of stuff outside still and things. But she pointed out that our family relationally grows so much deeper, so much faster when we are doing new experiences together. And so when I was thinking about this more after she was talking about this, I think she's right. Where she's like, for the amount of time we spend together, let's say like all month here on our property, let's say I'm making this up, but for the sake of example, let's say our relationships go from like a 3 to a 4 or a 5 in like 1 month, if you can put on a scale like 1 to 10 maybe. But if we go out and we go hiking and we go do like a camping trip together, we're all in a different element and doing something new, it seems like our relationships go from like a 3 to a 7 or an 8 in like 2 days instead of what would normally happen in like a month, and or several months or something totally ambiguous like that. And so we're thinking like, hey, we need to make this a regular part of our family rhythm of doing these team retreats. If nothing else, just get away and doing something together. Now, as the kids get older, my wife and I are thinking about doing something a little bit more structured with those times. Like, hey, it's not just a time to get away and do fun things, have new shared experiences, and create memories that we're going to talk about for the rest of our lives. That's totally, absolutely still part of it. But we're like, should we still have like something our family's trying to accomplish together? I don't know. We're going to feel that out. Like, that might not be appropriate for those types of spaces, but we're thinking like for when our team gets together, our businesses team, like those relationships are built around trying to solve things or learn something together. And we were kind of thinking, what would that be a valuable experience for our kids and our family to have together? We're not there yet. Like, that's something we're thinking about right now. Our youngest kid is 3 years old and our oldest is 11. So, we're not really trying to like force that too much. I don't think right now is a good time. I think the kids, especially the younger ones, wouldn't even get that type of concept at all anyway. So right now we're just focused on having fun, building relationships, forming new memories and experiences together, and coming back refreshed and all that. So I would love to hear if you guys are thinking about like if your family team has kind of done anything like that, where you guys are thinking about like, hey, what do our relationships look like, and when we're traveling, what does that look like for us to maybe do something intentional as a family outside? I know one family here in the Cincinnati area that does a quarterly team retreat, and what a family team retreat and what that looks like for them is they rent an Airbnb and they go away for a few days and they just kind of like talk about like, hey, what's our family rhythm going to be like? What do you need? What does each kid need? And what do you no longer need in terms of like relationships or time outside the house or with friends? Or what type of goals is our family trying to accomplish together this quarter, and makes that kind of like a team retreat where they reestablish a new rhythm and start and stop new things. And so right now, Dana and I kind of do that. In fact, we had one of those conversations last night even. But it's not something the kids are involved in as much. So if that's something you and your kids do or your spouse do, I'd love to hear what that kind of looks like and share your comment. There's a link in the show notes of this. Just tap it. You don't need to download anything or sign up for anything or anything. You can just record your message and it'll come straight to me here. And I'd love to feature that the way I did with Renee. So yeah, but the main point I'm thinking about is like, how do we use family vacation time to grow our family team and solidify those relationships? Similarly to how, maybe similarly, it doesn't have to be, but to how we grow our relationships in our businesses team and the cohesiveness that happens in those shared experiences and how we're just stronger together. We understand each other better now. We've had this dedicated time with each other in a different environment, different context. It makes it feel new and fresh and interesting. And so that's really what we're trying to accomplish. And I don't really have an agenda of how we do that. Just would love to hear from you guys. Maybe what you and your family have experienced, or if you've maybe gone to some of these family camps that they have, which I'm kind of interested in learning more about, where it's like camp, but you don't just send your kids, like the whole family goes together and it's like shared experiences. So yeah, love to hear your thoughts on that. And looking forward to any other messages you guys want to hear. I want to make this interactive. I'm hoping to sometime have enough messages from you guys where I can have just a whole episode either answering questions or reacting to like kind of stuff like Renee shared or things like that. I think all that would be really, really good because I'm looking forward to learning from you guys just as much as maybe you're hopefully learning here, at least getting some new ideas and perspectives. So thank you guys for hanging out, and I'll see you guys soon in the next episode.